right, boys. Thanks for doing it. Hey, everybody. Happy New Year. I am celebrating it with my boys, Gary, my dad, and Roger.
Cheers, Roger. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
What I am hoping to do for the new year is when I write jokes and sketches and stuff, I tend to read a lot of short stories. I like it. It helps. It's stand-up comedy is concise in nature, and I feel like short stories are good to read when you're writing comedy because they tend to take the longer narrative and they shorten it down. So I'm a comedian, but I started writing these short stories just for fun in between writing jokes and sketches. And I figured I'll throw it out there and I'll start reading these stories to my friends. And I'm having them illustrated by friends as well. This story has 3 illustrations by the great Mitch Mitchell, and I'll throw all of her information in with the video as well. So since it's New Year's, I'm going to read you a story that I wrote last year. The last 6 years in a row, I've worked every New Year's doing comedy shows, which are always terrible because it's amateur night and everyone who doesn't know how to drink has come out. And usually, if they don't know how to drink, they don't know how to act, and it makes for terrible shows. But last year, I was on a cruise ship, and it was very rowdy, and I just walked around and was miserable the whole time. So I decided to write a spooky story about New Year's, and that's what I'm reading for you tonight to Gary and Roger. So here we go. Say hi, Gary and Roger.
Hello!
Yeah, you're on that camera. Raise those drinks up, boys. All right. All right, here we go. So the story is called It's a New Year, comma, Baby. It's a new year, baby. Happy 2020. Here's the first story of the year. Oh, and this series, by the way, is called Written Up with Travis Nelson. So this will be fun. All right, gotta get into character. We've had a few drinks. I'm gonna read this now. On a grim gray block, by the way, feel free to stop me if you need me to slow down or anything. Okay. On a grim gray block, on the last day of the year, you could hear the distant rattle of noisemakers, upbeat and festive against the economic decay surrounding. The same thing happened every year. Partygoers flocked to the Genesis pub on New Year's Eve. That was the only time it was busy, and frankly, the only time anyone had noticed it existed. The rest of the year, it may as well have been boarded up, like most of the rest of the block, full of dilapidated old retail shops and a warehouse barely standing. The city's health department didn't even have it on the books. Down the street, a young group en route to the Genesis walked past a shuttered convenience store. They gave wide berth to a solitary person. Oh, hang on, I lost it. Solitary person sitting on the sidewalk, covered in blankets, sitting on cardboard and looking the worse for wear. A man and woman, her hands tightly wound around his arm, pressure does seem to stave off the cold, stopped to ask the lone person for directions. "Excuse me," the young man asked, holding up a flyer. "Do you know where the Genesis pub is?" A worn, sexless face gazed up and wheezed, "Just down the block. Keep going. You won't miss it." The man muttered a thanks and tried to move on, but the woman, hanging onto his arm, pulled back. Thank you for the help." The old face split with a toothless smile and said, "Call me baby, honey." The woman smiled back and pulled out a $5 bill from her pocket. "Happy New Year, baby." Baby took the bill and tucked it into the pile of blankets, whispering a thank you with a head tilted low. The man pulled his girlfriend away, scolding, "Emily, you shouldn't give them money. You know what they're going to spend it on." "Well, it's my New Year's resolution to be more charitable," she said as she elbowed him playfully in the ribs. "Wouldn't hurt you to do the same, Derek." The couple passed before they could see a tear roll down Baby's cheek, leaving a clean path through soot and dirt, seemingly dissolving wrinkles as it went. The straggling group of friends neared Baby and didn't see the tear either. They didn't even look down. Baby wheezed a Happy New Year at them, and one man said, "About damn time, this year sucked." Baby had a coughing fit as they passed by, and a girl in the group made a quip about tuberculosis. Once they'd left earshot, Baby pulled a weathered hand from the blankets and clicked on a metal counting device. 1 for Derek, 8 for the lagging friend group. A smile grew wide once again, and Baby cackled in a manic, quiet glee. "That's enough for this year. That's them all." Inside the Genesis was a party fit for the end of the world, a setting dystopian in a subtle way. Everyone was wearing pointy party hats, and many had novelty drinking shirts that said things like drinking king drinking team captain or drinking in the new year. Some were even in costumes, including a Big Bird, Santa Claus, and Father Time. The bartenders had stopped charging for drinks and were pouring freely, adding to the anarchistic vibe that accompanies a good New Year's Eve bash. Derek, Emily, and their group sat at a table full of beers and half a dozen shots of whiskey. The group was loudly discussing the resolutions. One friend leaned in at an exaggerated tilt, his loosened tie plopping into the puddle of beer on the table as he loudly explained to Emily that this was the year he was going to turn things around. No, seriously. His boyfriend sat back in the chair next to him, staring off into the distance as a sort of inebriated ennui settled over his consciousness. Is that how you say that word? Ennui. Ennui? You know what I'm talking about? I'm going to Google it. I'm going to Google that word real quick. Let's just see. Ennui. I've heard it used so many times, but I'm usually reading it, and I am very, I think, ennui. Ennui. Okay, well, there we go. I'm keeping that in the video. No, seriously. His boyfriend sat back in the chair next to him, staring off into the distance as a sort of inebriated ennui settled over his consciousness. I didn't say it right again. At 30 minutes to midnight, nobody even noticed the door creak open as Baby slipped in. Surprisingly agile in a mismatched pair of old boots, a room full of costumes provided adequate camouflage. The girl that had made the tuberculosis comment on the sidewalk earlier was leaning heavily on the end of the bar, her eyes glossed over. She gripped a wad of money in one hand, waiting to get the attention of a bartender, but far too drunk to realize that the bartenders had left. Baby sidled up next to her. The girl noticed that. "Hey, weren't you outside earlier?" The girl slurred, leaning back for a better view and a less distinct smell. "You can call me Baby," said Baby. "Look, I'm really sorry." The girl's eyes were sad. "I've had a really tough year too." But Baby held up a hand. "Let's not talk about last year. Let's talk about next year." The girl swallowed hard. "Yeah, next year. Next year, I'm gonna fix it." Baby pulled the girl close. "That's the spirit. Tell me how good you're gonna be." Emily's eyes had started wandering around the room. She had never been much of a drinker. The more she looked around, the stranger the bar seemed. There was a whole wall of photos from New Year's past, going all the way back to black and white. She tugged on Derek's sleeve. "Hey, does this place, only do New Year's Eve parties?" Derek, interrupted halfway through a conversation he already couldn't remember, scoffed at her. "Baby, that wouldn't make any sense. They wouldn't be able to stay open off one night a year." He turned back towards the group. "Hey, has anyone seen Jasmine?" Emily got up to use the restroom, humming along to the song currently playing. "I'm just a soul whose intentions are good. Oh Lord, please don't let me be misunderstood." She turned down the narrow hallway to the restrooms and almost ran smack into Baby, who was chatting with an extremely drunken guy in a dress shirt stained with cranberry juice, who was absolutely bawling. "You're so right. This is a chance to turn things around. This is a real chance for a new beginning." Emily tried to catch Baby's eye to give a knowing smile. She babysat her fair share of drunks. But as Emily walked by, she was suddenly unsure if it was Baby. There was no longer any dirt to the face, the wrinkles were gone, and somehow, did Baby have teeth now? She caught a flash of enamel as Baby murmured to the drunk guy, You're gonna need a plan if you're gonna turn things around, sweetie. Tell me what you're gonna do. Tell baby how you're gonna make it all better. Emily ducked into the restroom and tried to shrug off the incongruities of the night. Baby must have dentures or something. There were 3 stalls, but the only one with a clean toilet also had a broken door that she carefully adjusted into semi-working condition. She sat on a cold seat and was accosted by a hot smell of vomit from the toilet next to her. She really wasn't sure why she and Derek were spending New Year's Eve in such a dump, but it seemed like such a good idea earlier on in the week. Now she couldn't even remember whose idea it was. She flushed the toilet. It was the only thing that she'd encountered in that bar that was functional as anything other than an alcoholic. In fact, it was so functional that it sprayed water back up on her dress. She sighed, washed her hands, and checked her phone where she had a strange number of texts about missing friends. Where's Jasmine? LOL. Hey, have you seen Amanda? Is Brett with you? Damn drunks wandered around like cats. As she wandered out to the bar, she noticed that Baby and the drunk guy had disappeared. The table her group had been sitting at now had a few empty chairs. As she sat back down, Derek slurred into her ear, $10 says Amanda and Brett are off hooking up. She rolled her eyes and squinted quizzically. Hey, did it get brighter in here? Derek made a bad joke about must be me, but she shook her head. No, dude, something's weird here. Emily looked behind the bar and saw the bartenders were gone, and now the only person behind the bar was a person about her age wearing a white sequin dress and leaning over the bar chatting with a distraught-looking young man. The sequin dress seemed to be glowing, but the person wearing it seemed oddly familiar. Emily walked up to the bar and tried to wave down the sequin dress. Hi, hello, I'm Emily. Sequins didn't even look her way. Yeah, hi, Emily. 1 second, girl. Something was whispered to the young man, who picked himself up off the bar and staggered around to a door near the restrooms that said office. The person in the white sequin dress watched him go, and as the door shut behind him, they turned to Emily and said, I really hope he doesn't piss on the desk. What's your name? Asked Emily, attempting friendly. The glowing figure flashed a flawless smile and said, I'm Baby. Emily forced a laugh. That's so weird. I met someone outside named Baby, she personally leaving space for Baby to a chance to explain what it was and take responsibility for whatever was happening. Instead, Baby laughed and said, everyone's a baby on New Year's. It's a new start. The smile disappeared and Baby looked straight into Emily's eyes for a startling second and muttered, shouldn't you be getting home, Emily? It's getting late. Baby then walked over to the office and opened the door, beckoning a number of morose partygoers in before following them, and as the door closed, Baby looked back and winked at her without a smile. Emily took a random shot of the bar because she needed it, because this wasn't the booze. Something was up in that bar, and oh shit, that was Fireball. Gross. She walked back to her table, where Derek and 2 others were the last left seated. Derek, I want to go. Derek tried to turn his head without turning his body and almost fell out of his chair. Come on, baby. I don't want to spend the countdown in an Uber. Derek, seriously. I want to go now. As Derek scoffed, Emily looked up to see the door to the office glowing bright from the inside. The door swung open and a kid that looked about 11 years old walked out. The kid was the only one that walked out and was glowing so much you couldn't even see his face. Hey, does anyone else think it's weird there's a kid in the bar? But no one seemed to hear Emily. Does anyone else think it's weird that there's a kid in the bar and that kid is fucking glowing? The music had stopped and now a bar full of drunken, disgruntled faces were staring her. I mean, does no one else think something weird is going on? A guy a few tables away hollered, sit down, and the crowd chuckled. Emily started to say, why are all our friends missing? But as she opened her mouth, the lights in the bar dimmed, and a spotlight shone on a karaoke machine in the corner. The kid stepped into the spotlight and picked up the microphone. Hi, everyone. I'm Baby. Are you ready for the countdown? The bar slurred a cheer together. Before it's time, let's take a moment to focus on everything we're going to do better next year. Let's all make resolutions. The same monotone cheer. Emily noticed Baby was glowing even brighter. No, she yelled, guys, don't. We have to leave now. You have to leave now, Baby yelled into the microphone, causing feedback into the cheap karaoke speaker. We're not starting the countdown until you go. The entire bar stood up at once and moved towards Emily. What are you doing? She screamed. This is crazy. Derek grabbed her by the arm. You're being weird, babe. Wait outside. I'll be out in a minute after the countdown. Emily felt hands all over her, pushing her towards the door, but it was too dark to see who was even touching her. Before she could protest further, she was out on the sidewalk, the door slamming behind her. She heard it lock, and she stood there shaking from fear, anger, and cold. She looked down the street and saw the pile of blankets where Baby had been. Now they danced untethered across the street. She could hear drunks inside yelling out their resolutions, and she banged her fist on the door in protest. Baby began counting down. 10, 9, 8. A glow from the bar shone from under the door. 7, 6, 5, 4. Derek, I swear to God. 3, 2, 1. Derek! From inside, Happy New Year! And the bar erupted in a rendition of Auld Lang Syne. With every word, the bar got brighter and brighter, and the building started to shake so hard the dirt fell from the roof, and Emily stepped back out onto the street, convinced it would collapse. Then, as soon as the song ended, the entire bar went dark and silent. Even the open sign in the window just turned off. Emily stood there in the cold, quiet dark, and just for a moment, she heard a baby coo. So that was it! That was It's a New Year, Baby! There we go. That's the first one. Sorry if it was weird.
I've read that one before.
You've read that one before. Oh, I sent that one to you. Yeah, I wrote it a year ago. All right, cool. Happy New Year's, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Very nice.
Well, thanks for letting me do that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Once you had your what is it, the heroine or whatever,
Yeah.
named after your ex-girlfriend Emily.
I never dated an Emily. That was Ted.
Oh, okay. I can't remember.